So this is it. Today is the day. I wish I could say it was the day we sail off into the sunset and never come back, but that is going to be a story for another time. Because we have our refit scheduled in 6 weeks, so we will be back soon. But for now, we are sailing to Key West. Our crew consists of the 5 of us, Brent's mom and dad, Scotty Boy and Lori D, and our buddy Tom, who is an avid sailor, and he is helping us learn the ropes a little. And our adventures actually began before we even left the dock. Weston got himself locked in the bathroom, and I had to crawl through the hatch to get him out. And I'm kind of short, so I was having a hard time reaching the counter. Yeah, it was fun.
That is Westy's nest. We're gonna call it the West Nest. He loves it.
Alright, so back to the trip. We motor sailed to Biscayne Bay and anchored in Stiltsville the first night. The second night we anchored off of northern Key Largo, and then we met up with some friends and family the next day in Tavernier. Then we anchored at the 7 Mile Bridge, and then we sailed to Key West. We sailed right at 200 miles in 5 days, anchoring out each night. We realized we had a water problem on day 2. It's like we're making some water. Oh, it's spitting. Hey, it's spitting. We got a leak. Right there. Is it supposed to be doing that?
No.
We hold 400 gallons of water, 3 100-gallon tanks, and 2 50-gallon tanks. All but one tank was empty, and we could not figure out how to access that last tank. When we tried to make water, hoses kept bursting. So for now, we filled our tanks at the Ocean Reef Marina in North Largo, and then we were super thrifty with water consumption.
Good job for taking us all the way to this bay.
Do you know where we are?
Where?
Key Largo.
Key Largo Bay. Key Largo Bay. Key Largo Bay.
I don't even think we're in a bay, actually. It took Brent a few days, but he found that all the valves were closed to the holding tanks, so the water being made had nowhere to go, and therefore causing a ton of pressure and blowing the hoses. When we finally got our tanks full, we started having water pressure problems. Again, after some research, B learned you have to bleed the air out of the tank and open all the valves so the water can flow from tank to tank. Once he got the logistics of the water system figured out, we had no more water problems. We did, however, have power problems. But we're going to talk about that next time. For now, we have guests.
Yay!
It's our first visitors!
Yeah, rubbing off.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you the rope.
Our friends Dawn and Adam from Island Lake, and then also Brent's Aunt Dawn from Minnesota, both happen to be in the Keys. It was incredible to have our friends and family on board. And this is when it all kind of started to sink in, this is real. This is happening.
Bye, y'all.
Safe travel.
And of course, we can't forget about the seasickness.
I want to do it.
Wait a minute. Make your hole bigger. Okay, there you go. Up the hole. Around the tree. Back down the hole.
No.
Back down the hole.
Go from underneath.
There, no, he got it.
Okay.
He got it.
I got a new one.
That's it.
This
That's
is
it.
the damn
Pull it tight
new
from the
one.
other end.
Pull it tight from this end. There you go.
Thank you, Mommy.
Good job, Wes.
Nice.
Buddy. That's for knuckles there. Woo! There you go.
Did you tell your mom Sailor's Life with me?
Sounds like for me.
We finally make it to Key West. This was the first time we had been on land in 5 days. So I took the kids for a nice long walk to get a golf cart so we could run some errands and do some tourist stuff. This is also where our buddy Tom leaves us. But don't worry, he'll be back to visit later. All right, story time. So this is the first time that Anna and I take the dinghy off by ourselves, and we are going to Provision, right? So we get to the dinghy dock, and she grabs the rope, and she hops off the dinghy. I get the dinghy keys, and I get like the lock and chain. I grab my shoes. I put everything in the backpack and jump off the dinghy onto the dock. And I tell Anna to pull the rope in tight so that I can lock the dinghy to the dock. So she starts pulling the rope, and the rope is not tied to the dinghy. So it falls in the water, and like the dinghy immediately starts floating away. So I have like a half a second to think, and I just go for it, right? Like I just spread eagle, I just jump for it. And like barely make it on the dinghy. Like my feet are in the water, and I had to like pull myself up into the dinghy. I realize the keys are in my backpack on the dock. Luckily I have a paddle, right? So I'm like paddling, and meanwhile Anna on the dock is laughing her ass off. She has tears running down her face, and she is like, "Oh my god, Mom, you look like a spider monkey." Yeah, good times. So anyway, we go and we get our groceries. This is our dry Tortugas provisioning, by the way. So 7 people for 7 days. We have a ton of food, right? We get back to the dock, we load the dinghy, drop the little cart thing off, and we start back to the boat. I get maybe 20, 30 feet from the dock, and our engine dies. And I'm trying to figure this out, like what's going on? We're out of gas. Like I realize like the gas tank is empty. We are out of gas. So we actually just bought this dinghy from our buddy Ben here in Key West. And I heard him say there are 2 gas tanks, and all you have to do is switch the hose. It's super easy. It was not super easy, Ben. The hose was too short, and it would not connect to the engine. So I had to like switch the actual gas tanks out, like switch them, stepping all over a dinghy full of groceries. And now I've never done anything like this. So I had to call Brent to kind of like help me, like walk me through over the phone what to do. And that was a whole lot of fun. If you're married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because first he hits me with the, I know what's wrong with it. It ain't got no gas in it. Like seriously, Anna and I are like floating along in everyone's way, and he's making all these jokes, right? And then he keeps telling me, just squeeze the ball. Just squeeze the ball. Anyway, I learned a lot that day. So at this point, we've been on the boat a week. So far, we've ran out of water. We struggle with power. Wes has locked himself in the bathroom twice now, and the dinghy legit tried to kick my ass. I'd say things are going pretty good. But the good news is we leave first thing in the morning for the Dry Tortugas, which if you saw our first video, this is where it all started for us, and we cannot wait to get back there.